Hello and welcome again, Year 10. Today we're going to be looking at the Closing the Gap initiative. The Closing the Gap initiative, just to start off, was established in 2008. It aims to improve the lives of all Indigenous people in Australia. Since that 2008 date, Australian governments, and there's been quite a number, have worked together to develop better health, education, and employment outcomes for Indigenous, Aboriginal, and Torres Strait Islander peoples to eliminate that gap between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australians. There are 7 key initiatives that it targets. It says family, children, and youth as one, health, education, economic development, housing, justice, including youth justice, land, and water. Now, we're going to be looking at each of these ones today in a little bit more depth. And there is also the cross-system priorities, which works to establish the fact that without one, you can't have another. The importance of making sure that each of these 7 targets are met each year, and that gap is closing, even just a little bit every single year, because if one is surging ahead, then the others are falling behind. So, what is closing the gap? It is in Tom Calma's Social Justice Report in 2005. He is the former Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Social Justice Commissioner. He urged Australian governments to commit to achieving equality for all Indigenous peoples across Australia, in particular the health and life expectancy within 25 years. So by 2030, this Social Justice Commissioner, Tom Calma, was urging the government to do something, that there were such injustices and inequalities happening between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australians, and he wanted to have something done about it. So in 2008, the Australian government committed to specific targets, those 7 that we just read out before, for reducing inequalities in Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander life expectancy, mortality, education, and employment. The 7th target to close the gap in school attendance was added in 2014. So in December 2016, the Council of Australian Governments agreed to refresh the Closing the Gap agenda ahead of its 10th anniversary. 4 of the 7 targets expired in 2018, and some new ones have been brought in this year. So in 2018, a special gathering of prominent Indigenous Australians presented the Council of Australian Governments with a statement setting out priorities for the new Closing the Gap agenda. It was a next phase of the CTG, to be guided by empowerment and self-determination and community-led, strengths-based type strategy. They wanted to move beyond surviving and into thriving. So throughout this refresh process, there were a number of meetings, workshops, roundtable meetings with lots of different people, and a list of different priorities were drawn up. So that's where we get the 7 that we're going to be looking at today. There was a couple of different drafts that were handed out for people of the community to consider if there were things that they thought needed to be added, things that maybe weren't as important. So between all of these meetings, these workshops, and this community engagement, the final drafts were released. They were reviewed by the National Indigenous Reform Agency, and then they worked to start endorsing these. So each year, a new report is put out. The 2019 report has just been has just landed, and we will be looking at a little bit of that today in class as well. Okay, thank you. Bye.